Okay, what do we know about strength? What are the subqualities of strength? Are you mumbling or are you coaching?
Yeah,
mumbling. I thought you would be. And then that's an interesting part. You're the coach. You start talking to your team like that, what do they think? and this is a practical exam, so when we've got to speak to the team, you've got to speak with clarity. What did you learn yesterday, Josh, with the referees?
There's a lot involved, the different aspects that's required for refereeing. Like, for instance, because they do a lot of back running, you need to work with a lot of the posterior chain. And there was a lot of based on their testing results, what was prescribed for them in their program.
It's all individualised, isn't it? They've all got their distances, and their concentric running, their eccentric running, their accels, the decels, and they've got their own measurements and stuff. Yeah, and it's complicated for us. So we do unpredictable maths, but we've got to remember what the times are. So it varies from 10 seconds to 15 seconds to 20 seconds, and with the recovery. And they've got to remember what the runs are. We start the run and we say short, so that's only a 10-second run. Medium is a 20-second run. Long is a long run, Tabata. So yeah, they go for 4 minutes. So interesting. Yeah. So we asked about our sub-qualities of strength. What are they? Power, yeah, I think down here, yeah. When do we start, what do we do? When you're injured, what do you do? Yeah, but what's the focus of it all?
Stability.
Stability and control. Yeah, let's get on control and stability. And that can be done in a functional movement screen, can't it? You do a left leg and you do a right leg. And if there's an imbalance, it's an asymmetry, isn't it? So, cricket. You bowler, batsman?
All-rounder.
All-rounder, okay. So, have you got asymmetry problems?
Yeah, at the moment I do.
At the moment, can you explain a little bit about it, Olivia, please?
Well, I'm coming back from a stress reaction in my femur, so at the moment I'm quite dominant posteriorly with my pelvis, so it causes a lot of instability in my trunk and stuff like that, so I have lower back pain.
So when you're an all-rounder, is that the front foot where you're landing down bowling?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a lot of force going in the front foot, and that happened years ago. There were stress fractures in the back, or somewhere in that posterior chain, you're going to get injured. What takes all the load? And it depends on our body's a load lever and fulcrum system, isn't it? Some of us got long torsos, some of us got short torsos, and you've got to look at that and understand that. And then when you're batting, that's the same foot you're pushing down and probably turning onto when you're running. So overuse, but it's an asymmetry problem. What are they doing to help you?
I'm doing neuro training at the moment, so a lot of bird dogs, core work at the moment, yeah.
Yeah.
Realign, yeah.
Yeah, and then what's your first initial when you're in there? What's your thought process about being young and I can do anything, I don't need to warm up or train or? Yeah,
it's hard to train my brain to be in those positions and then translate it into core lifts because my body tends to go to its weak points when I'm not thinking about it. So try and train that.
Yeah, and we've got to work with physios and we've got to work with other people in the organisation. So we need to understand and really focus on it. And I'm learning something straight off Olivia, but I'm asking those questions because I understand the concepts of it all, not the specificity of what's going through it, but cricket, tennis, soccer, when you're kicking with one leg all the time, you're not doing any training with your body and you're just relying on it. And that's caused complications all over and probably hard for you to start. Where do I start? And they're the sort of things that we don't want to be with, and we need to understand that all these basic things. So control and stability is really important. for the reasons that Olivia's shared with us. So what's the next thing? When do we start then? They've got through this. What's the next thing? Pardon? Strength endurance, yeah, good. Strength endurance. Okay, and then we're starting to get, some people might want to go through that hypertrophy phase, yeah. And then you want to go to max strength. Then we want to go to power. Yep. What are some of the other things that they're talking about now? Heavy eccentrics. Anyone done those? Because our eccentric is about 20% stronger than our concentric, isn't it? So if you went down at your push-up, you could lower me down slow, eccentrically, but you couldn't push me back up again, because we're not a strong concentrically. So they do heavy eccentrics to try to get that more strength. And then they do isometric holds, yeah. Mid-thigh pulls, have we heard about those? Anyone done those? Isometric mid-thigh pulls, you're doing those? And that's probably to try to get it, help it now, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's no movement, and basketballers get a lot of tendonitis, don't they? So one of the things I use with basketballers is isometrics, yeah? To work through their tendonitis. So these are all the things that we've got to look at. And then we go into switching and some of these other terms that you'll find out about. But again, we just start learning things. So that's a bit of a basic thing about that. And how do we determine whether we're doing control and stability, strength, endurance, hypertrophy? How do we determine what subpoint is the strength we want to work? It's up on the board somewhere there. What is it? Our acute training variables. Sets, reps, intensities, volume, duration. They're all the things that we need to just, that's all they are, they're changing. What are our strength objectives when we start training? So we would need to know here, and that's what we're going to do here, and we're being recorded if you want to listen to stuff, that you've got to ask questions, don't slip behind. We don't want to make it too hard for you. So define those strength objectives. We're going to learn about that. We're going to learn about the training methods and practices. What have we learned already today? Or is this just a recall? Hopefully it's a recall for you. Yeah? So for you, we'd want to do a functional movement screen, see where you're at, get onto the physio, and then start putting a program together for you. Your shoulders, you know, they're no good, so you need to start on some sort of stabilisation program. Yeah? And then we look at the periodisation models. We're going to go through that as well. And then that program design, you did programs last year, didn't you? Basic programs. So we're going to go through that to define it and make sure that we understand it all. Is that okay? And then those acute training variables. So what are our objectives? We know that we've got training methods and practices. These are our group. We've got to try to come up with a program design, and we need to understand where our athletes are. And then we've got to look at our different periodisation. So how do we fit into the program? And what time of year is it? So all these things, and it all starts out with that assessment task number 1. Let's put our program together. Okay. Fortunately, some of you are in programs, and then you can ask your coaches and things like that, where are we at? Can I have a look at our periodisation and try to put it and use it into those templates? Does that sound feasible? Yeah? So if we look at, we've got to look at our program design. So we've got to work with our head coach, don't we? We went through that last week. We've got to understand what his philosophies are about his offence and defence, back in the field, transition, good ball, all these different things. And then we look at the individual position of the team players. We went to soccer, didn't we? So soccer, is the back of the Goldie. He's very powerful. A lot of, well, she is, he is, they are. So they've got to be able to move power, and they've got to kick the ball, and they've got to throw the ball, and have good agility skills, yeah? So highly anaerobic. But the midfielders out wide, they've got to be very aerobic, don't they? And they've got to move fast and do a lot of kilometres and things like that. So you're focusing on these things. So we're starting to put it all together. And then with the coach's ideas and his philosophies, we've got to share that and start working towards that, what these positions in the team plays. So we've got to work it out for each position. Cool? These biomotor interactions of sports performance, we look at strength here, and we've got to work that agility, we've got to work that maximal strength, we've got to work muscle endurance. When do we put it in there? Maximal speed. If you want to run fast, you've got to lift heavy, and you've got to run fast. They're the two major factors with it. Yep? So your speed guys, we want to make sure they're lifting heavy and run fast. Yeah? If we're playing with a lot of Polynesians, they're really big, mesomorphs, we don't want them any bigger. And if we're playing rugby league, because the game's getting faster and faster, we can't have them too big and not mobile. Yep? So we're sort of looking at that. How much speed work do you do?
3 times a week.
3 times a week you do speed? How's it broken up?
We do it like before a fielding session, so we do like 15-metre fly efforts, we do change direction, but mostly resistant bands.
Resistance bands?
Yeah.
Is that early season or is that all the way through?
The early season, and then it transitions to fly efforts during the season.
Okay, good. And the resistance bands are there to stop that eccentric, or is it just that resistance to build that?
Yeah, just to build the strength in those starting positions.
Starting positions, okay. And there's a lot of that for field ball, and you're doing a lot of reaction stuff?
Yeah.
And trying to catch it. Okay, cool, cool. So we're starting to understand that. So this, we don't want to complicate that too much, but that, when we go back to the team, somewhere in the team, we've got to cover all those bases, don't they? Because everybody's different. You might need hypertrophy, you might need max strength, you might need, you need control and stability and get to rebuild your body again. So all these different things we've got to put together and imagine it. So again, you just imagine that and what we're doing. So when we look at strength periodisation, what sub-period is it? General prep, specific prep, pre-competition, main competition, and then post-competition. You can get really in-depth like that, or you can just have general prep, specific prep, competition, transition. It doesn't matter for assessment task 1. You can keep it simple if you want to. And that might be good for your players and for people in the club. Yeah? Then what season is it? Off-season, pre-season, in-season, or post-season? So it's just telling us what we're doing there. We're sharing it with everybody. Nice and simple. Everybody in the organisation can understand it a little bit. Yeah? And then we look at the phase. So you might want to go off-season, or you might have one group doing hypertrophy, one group doing strength, one group doing endurance. Anybody not been involved in the club that's got 3 weight sessions and might be a different group every time? Because that's what we do sometimes. We have 3 weight sessions and then you've got different groups and segregated into different programs. And then you might go into basic strength, strength power, peaking, and or maintenance and active rest. Intensity, low to moderate, high. So these are all the training variables that we're looking at now. And these are the percentage of them. See how we're putting it all together in a periodisation program? And you might look at that and say, well, that's a good start, and put that into your program. Don't copy it word for word, but you can sort of model it on that, just to give you some help. So we kind of understand what's going on. Now when you're talking to the coach, you might say, listen coach, we're working up around 87 to 95% here, so you know, they're going to be fairly fatigued and stuff like that as well. So you can demonstrate what's going on. See how it's a map, and we can understand it and tell our coach where we're at, what we're doing. And then again, they're not all the sets and reps and where we're putting that in there. For your strength. And you do one of those for your energy systems. And then you'll do one for your speed. Yep? Cool. So this is something that we know that we can do percentage of reps. 100% is 1 RM, 95, 2 reps, 93%, 3 reps, 94 reps. See how we can measure it, all back to 1 RM. And we did that and we'll show that. So when we're looking at our training variables for power, and when we're looking at it for max strength, and when we're looking at it for strength, this is kind of where we're at with it. Yeah? And this is the rationale. So again, when we're putting this together, and these are good resources, control and stability, slow, moderate, increased speed as stability improves. Hypertrophy, slow, moderate, increased time under tension. Yeah? Max strength, moderate, attempt to lift the bar fast with high force. You might move it fast, but what's happening down at your cellular level? Your fast twitch muscle fibers are starting to fire up. Yep. So that's what we're trying to do, lift with intent.
Does that mean it's better to have hypertrophy first in the periodisation program and sort of move into your more strength phases and then power as you start peaking, seeing as that intensity?
If I've got Polynesians, no, I don't want them anywhere near a hypertrophy program.
Yeah.
Because you'll end up with gorillas.
Yeah.
And they won't be able to move. So again, it's individualisation, you know. And then we're not going to get hypertrophy because we just want to put him in the paddock back again and get him playing again. So it's really important that we understand that side. And then also with this max power, explosive and fast acceleration. And this is kind of that base that we talked about, control and stability, your reps. You've got to build that base. When you've got young kids, they're just doing body weight. Remember those stages, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of learning? So we need to get that volume and then where they're at. And then we start building up, building up, building up, and starting to peak into power, yep? Cool. So we've got those physiological adaptations to resistance. So if we look at your respiratory system, you might get oxygen exchange at the lungs, extra blood flow through the lungs, but you're not going to get submaximal respiratory rate or submaximal pulmonary ventilation. And then you get cardiovascular system, doesn't really work. But we can build up these other areas. So where you understand the physiological side. But the musculoskeletal system, then you can start to get some real areas in this mitochondria, muscular strength, and all that's like the lytic activities and things like that through the fibers. Just understand that. However, what we can do here is build that up when we're doing circuit training. Yep. And we can do Tabata and things like that. That's giving us benefits there. So again, your sets and reps when you want to do an off-leg session. Because some people get injured and they can't run, you've got to do off-legs work. Yeah? So it's how you want to put things in and what you've got access to. So it does get there. So endocrine responses and adaptations to resistance training. And again, these are resources for you. So when you lift heavy resistance exercise, you get that hormonal release, and then it gets transported, receptors, cellular effects, cellular adaptations, increased force production, increases strength, power, hypertrophy, and just keeps going on. But again, it's got to be progressive overload. You know those training principles? Individualisation, progressive overload, periodisation, and specificity. So we're just going back to those basics again. Okay, and again, just some of those hormonal changes in the peripheral blood and its responses. So it starts out, we're getting plenty of growth hormone starting, and then diminishes. Again, day 2 diminishes, then day 3 diminishes. And then we're monitoring all our systems as well, aren't we? RPEs, and we've got GPS data, and we have daily wellnesses. So they're important that we're monitoring all this process all the time. Cool? And this was just a study with the acute testosterone responses to various resistance events. But the take-home message here is lift heavy, and you're going to get a lot more response when you read through all this area here. And there'll be another couple of slides that will show that. So if you look at that force velocity curve that we've spoken about a fair bit, and there's a good link you can go to, we're looking at these different zones, like trying to produce high force, and then starting to just drop that down to percentage to get higher velocity. Yep. Do you use velocity-based training with the cricket?
Sometimes.
Gym aware. Well, last week we looked at gym aware, yeah? And when we got a good clean or a high pull, and we were using our legs rather than our arms, we're getting a lot more force, weren't we? A lot more velocity. And that's what we're trying to do, is trying to work that. So it's motivation, but it's also telling you if you're in the zone, yeah, and if you're using the right limbs, I guess. That hip extension driving through, instead of trying to get the bar fast, just by pushing up through your arms and shoulders. Question?
No.
Okay, cool. And you'll get more and more here when we start doing this stuff. There is an app that we can go through a bit later on your phone. You can actually use it, and it's a free app. So we'll go through that in the tutorial. And look, what we're trying to say here is that we're trying to push this force velocity curves that way. So remember what it said? Lift with intent when you're using max strength. Try to get that bar moving as fast as we possibly can. Yeah, and hopefully pushing that from 0 faster, get more velocity, meters per second. Just another model of acute variables. Yeah, your strength. You're using less than or equal to 6 reps. Your sets 2 to 6, intensity greater than or equal to 85%, recovery time 2 to 5 minutes, tempo 111. However, if we're a power lifter, and that's what you'd use, yeah? If we've got athletes, they're never going to go to that intensity that they need 5 minutes rest. If we did 5 minutes rest and you're doing 8 exercises and doing 4 sets, you'd be there for 3 hours. So we don't have that time. So it's got to be within those times. And here's some more of these, just as power single efforts, 1 to 2 reps or 3 to 5 if you want multiple efforts, and all those percentages. Yep. And our sprint contraction all the time. Hypertrophy and muscle endurance. So where we've got here again, those acute variables that we're trying to understand. So there's our stages, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, content, and when can they progress to the next stage. What about here? What about these programs here? When you want to program. You've got a squat pattern, a hinge pattern, split leg pattern, upper body push patterns, vertical and horizontal. Does that mean anything to you? Do you understand what they are? Okay, we'll get some more slides that'll go through that will be specifically that. So when you get a program, you'll have this up there, and then you'll be writing your program from it. Have I done a hinge joint? Have I done a split? Have I done a horizontal push, horizontal pull? And then tick off all these boxes if you've covered it all the week. Because they're rotational exercises as well. So you've got to make sure you've covered those all in the programs. And especially for you, because you've got 7 different exercises, 7 different disciplines, you'd be mixed up everywhere. How many weight programs do you do a week, weight sessions?
When I was training properly, probably like 3.
3, and you'd have all those different patterns in your program?
Yeah.
And that's all it is, guys. It's just frameworks and processes. So, you know, it's your signature, and a lot of these you can use off these slides directly when you put the program together. So we'll go through those. And these are those 8 acute variables in resistance training. What exercise, what reps, what sets. What's the resistance, the load? What is the order of exercise? Some of you don't have ends or a big gym. This isn't a very big gym in here. So you mightn't go keep where you prefer to be, yeah? If you go to some of the gyms, you go to Dragons gyms, they've got 8 racks. So they have 16 guys and then 2 at each rack. So they've got plenty of racks. We don't have, we've got 2 racks here. So we're really pointed upstairs. What are your rest periods? What is your periodisation strategies within the week, within the variations of cycle, and the length of the variations? And it's this manipulation of all these variables that makes the programs different. Yep, we need variety, don't we? How do we get that variety? So here's some benchmarking here. So if you're training these Australian Rugby Union standards, where do I want to be at? So 1 to 1.2 times your body weight at junior, advanced junior, intermediate, senior, international. So they're all good benchmarks that you can give to your athletes and say, well, here you are now, that's your target, that's where you want to aim to. And then when you start saying, can we do 2 days a week, 3 days a week, how are we going to break the body parts into it and work in those different areas there? How you want it. And then again, if you're going to a higher level, then you've got to talk to your coach. How much time is he going to give you? And then how much has the organisation got? And sometimes, and most years are working with 70 professional athletes, they might want, you get them to see them 2 days a week, give them another 2 days program that might want them to get a bit bigger, hypertrophy, or get them stronger. You know, if they're really super keen, then help them out, show them that you care and communicate with them. And then you'll get rapid rewards from it in the future. So power and strength conversions to the track of the field. Why we clean and why we squat. You can sort of see there, is that vertical or is that horizontal? When we talk, yeah, well it's both. That's the vertical part, but it's in a horizontal position, so yeah. And that extension through the leg, and also that power driving down through. Yep. Here's some more benchmarking for female basketballers. More for rowers, rugby league sevens, all in this available here just as reference points for us. High school athletes, 3 hour each. Okay? So there are clear strength goals. Absolute weight lifted, attained for each stage for the different sports. Higher ranked performers are usually significantly stronger, both general and specific. And do not try and fast track teenagers. That's a real task there. When can they lift heavy? If their technique's going okay, just keep lifting them. If they're getting their reps up and their technique's good, keep going. That's the only thing failing, isn't it? Okay, we talked about gymnastics and training ages. They start at 6 months. So, you know, when you want to start them doing something. So they're all unique. And a lot of our outliers, our best athletes are outliers, aren't they? They don't fit into our normal standard variations. So here's your choices here, exercise choice. We've got a squat pattern, a hinge pattern, a split leg pattern, upper body vertical push patterns, upper body pull patterns, vertical and horizontal, planking, bracing, and also your trunk flexion and rotation patterns. Has your program for the week got all that in there? If you're doing 2 days, are you covering all those areas? And you might need 3 days. So it's just something that you want to look at when you want to put a program design up. And there's more coming up in these presentations as well. And then there's your power exercise, hang power cleans, training progressions. What do we know about the hang power clean if you can't get the catch? What are you going to regress to? High pull? Yeah, power shrug. That's fine. Dumbbell box jumps. Yeah. We just want that triple extension. That driving force to drive through, yeah? To make this contact. So, yeah, don't have to complicate too many things. If they can't catch, and a lot of you last week, you're bending at your wrist and your elbows, but we couldn't get them up. So again, you're going to do a long-term injury when your wrist, or if you get too much flexion in your elbows too, so taking that force through there. So we just want the high pull, that's fine. And if you can't get the triple flexion going down, just drop the bar. We just want that concentric action. So there's a lot of things we can vary even within the lift if we want to use those. Yeah? And you've got basic throws with med balls, bench press throws, Smith machines, and you can do a power program out in the field. Just that triple extension, throwing the ball, med ball, over the back of your head, or pushing it out, just to get those power movements. And again, here's probably one of the best things. If you look at your exercise pattern, squat, first choice front squat, second choice overhead squat, third choice overhead squat with overhead squat. And just all these progressions. Yep. Split leg, upper body push, upper body. Print that out, put it next to you when you put a program together. Am I ticking off all those boxes in your program? That's how you want to design it. And just add your sets and reps and intensities and speed contraction. So periodisation entails choosing a weekly training cycle. How do you want to put it together? That's entirely up to you. But if you're an elite athlete, then you've got a good base. 3 days a week. You know, sometimes we do 4 days a week with the footballers because they're in there and they've started. And we drop back to 3, and sometimes you only do 2 days a week. How many weight sessions are you doing, Julia?
At the moment, 4.
4 weight sessions. What are they broken up into, if you don't mind?
So I've got 2 lowers and 2 hybrids.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you're getting a hypertrophy.
Yeah, in the lowers, yeah.
Okay, in the lower body.
Yeah.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
interesting. Do you get consulted on what you want to do, or do you get told?
At the moment I'm getting told, but because I'm in off season, I usually can like create a program with the S&C on the strengths and weaknesses that I need to improve on.
Okay. Do you do a DSI, a dynamic strength index? Have you done CAN movement?
Yes, can movement stuff, yeah.
So you've done they talk about the dynamic strength index, and what the dynamic strength index is it compares your counter movement jump with a mid-thigh pull. And it's looking at that peak power. So if the ratio is under 0.6, then you probably need to get more strength, or you might need to get more power focused. Yeah, because we can train for power. And that's where the dynamic strength index comes. Actually, I was just talking to the librarian in the change room, and yeah, go up and ask him for more resources. And then you've got Google in your phone anyway. So dial up dynamic strength index and dial up things and start learning and want to get progressive with things, and you'll get some answers. Yeah, so can you do 2 whole body sessions per week? Best for in-season or competition, suggesting 3 whole body sessions per week. Best for pre-season preparation periods. 3 sessions per week, 1 upper body, 1 lower body, 1 whole body. May suit more advanced trainers during the preparation periods. Again, it's up to you guys. And what's the best thing you can do to learn? Try it out for yourself. Yeah. If it works for you, or if it's worked for someone that's close to you, well, let's start working on it for somebody else. Or build your network up. Ask a sprinter if you've got sprinters. Ask a swimmer if you've got a swimmer, what they're doing. Ask a cricketer if you've got a cricketer that you're training. Network and ask questions. Yeah. Again, here's just some methods where you want to work out your 1RMs. But again, knowing now that 10 reps is 1.33, well, times that by 1.33 and that'll give you your 1RM. If you do 5 reps, it's 1.16. If it's 3 reps, it's 1.08. If it's 2 reps, it's 1.05.
It's on the wall in the gym if you don't know what Paulie's talking about.
Yeah, and then it'll be on here
Yeah.
as well. Remember this one? These are all 2 reps, 105, 108, 112, 116, 120, all the way up. Yep, you can reconvert it back in there. And the correlation between your bench press and all these reds, yep, between your chins and all these, and then your squats and all these percentages. Presented by Dan Baker from 208. So that'll give you some variety. And then all those different hinge patterns and horizontal push, horizontal pulls, and vertical pushes and vertical pulls in the lower body. So main method, RP method, or with 1% comparisons. So again, 100%, 1 rep. 95%, 2 reps. 92, about 3 reps. So I'll use Abby as a reserve. We just got off the phone. What's she doing? We've got the Nationals coming up in 2 weeks. So she'll be doing probably threes. She'll be aiming at 92%, and then she'll only do 2 reps, knowing that she's still got strength in reserve, but it's still lifting heavy. Yep. And you can do that with all your athletes in any of these different areas. So 1 rep short, RPE9, 2 reps short, and pick those all out. Does that sound okay for you? Yeah. If we can't measure, we can't control it. So we're looking at those areas all the time if we possibly can. And that velocity-based prescriptions, yeah, again, I don't want to kill it to death with the push bands and things like that, but it's just that the coach prescribes this athlete a velocity for a certain amount of reps. So it's easy when you're working with small teams, like 1 or 2 athletes, because, you know, again, I use Abby, if she's squatting at 100% and she's not moving the bar at 1 metre per second, then she might be neuromuscular fatigued. So what happens there, you drop it down. Or if you're doing 5 reps and you think that you're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and if that starts going, if that's normally, what were we doing last week with the cleans? About 1.35 or something like that. And then what happened? That's rep 1, that's rep 2, that's rep 3, that's rep 4, that's rep 5. And if we did any more, they started dropping. So then all you want to do is start looking at those 5 reps. And you might be doing, say, 50% of your 1RM. So if we want to keep them at 5, what do we do there? Do we just go up to 55% next time and see if we can keep them up there and see if they're getting stronger and their power to weight ratio is going better? Or do we drop the weight? Just some things that you want to think about when you're testing and different ways to measure it. Does that resonate with you at all? Okay, so again, which to choose? So coaches prefer different methods for different athletes and exercise for the stages of learning. Unfortunately, we're going to have different stages of learning with our athletes if we've got a whole squad, aren't we? So we've got to know that individual idea. Some people are visual, some people are kinesthetic, and then we've got to react to how they learn. So again, rep range and rep set suit stage 3 athletes for most of the strength exercises, where strength is easily gained. So those first stages 1, 2 and 3, they should progress pretty quick. Yep, when you start getting into the stages 4 to 6, then you can start working on good percentage of 1RM and also velocity, and it suits the 4 to 6. So stage 4, you want your objectives. So you start wanting to build more sport or positional relevant athletic specific capacities. Introduction to maximal strength and power and more sport specific stuff. So anybody not heard about French Bosch? So he'll do a clean and then again, what he does is he does a clean and then does a step or a step on a box. Did you do any sort of that stuff, Amy? French Bosch. So with Abby, she's got to get that foot over and put it down. So we're trying everything. The only thing we haven't tried is put her on a rack and try to stretch her to get her about another 3 inches long. Because she's got to jump over the hurdle, not step over it. And she spent more than half of her life now on the track. So it's a last chance dance for her. She's working with biomechanists and we're trying to get that minimal contact on. So on the ground. But what we want to do, and we're trying these isometric holds, we're trying these switches, we're doing every heavy eccentrics, and she's improving, but we've still got to shave that 0.02 seconds off. And you know how hard that is at the peak. So yeah, we're trying to do as many different things as we can, just trying around with that. That's it for track and field athletes. Their race lights 13 seconds or 10 seconds or something like that. With our footballers and team sports, that's a little bit different. And we're really dealing with the chronic stuff. Because if you've got a hard pitch on the ground, it's going to give you shin splints and stress fractures and all this sort of stuff that you're going through. So, yeah, we've got to deal with that, especially if you're going to go on tour over to India because they're super hard grounds and stuff like that. So, yeah, greater number of exercises and choices, more varied sets and reps for different stages and categories for objectives. Yeah, so only by doing the basics in stage 3 do we know how the athlete needs to change from basics to stage 4. So what are the most effective exercises? If they can't catch or clean or hinge, if they've got injuries, then we've got to come up with something different. So what's going to suit them best? And what equipment have we got availability? And what are more sports positional relevant exercises? So again, with Abby, we've tried to do the French Bosch stuff to see if she can learn to get her foot down harder after a hurdle. And she does, we do power, like power endurance, so 10 snatches at a time, but making sure that the feet lands on the box with plenty of force all the time. Yep. What level of maximal strength are needed, and what levels and types of power are needed as well. And just your methods of progression. So skill increase, exercise choice variation, lower reps, basic strength, power velocity measures, and just keep moving on that continuum. Some of the exercise categories, so our big rocks are the squat, bench, pull-ups and chin-ups. Yep, our primary exercises. And then we start doing the, if we need hypertrophy or supplementary exercises, where you want to go to there. There's plenty of stuff on there too. And then you've got to look at your power exercises. So we start off with our hops, jumps, throws, plyometrics, our weightlifting on the exercise variations, and barbell versions, jump squats and ballistic barbell lifting. Not only for our muscles, but also for our elastic strength, for the ligaments and tendons, especially down the bottom of that connective chain around the ankles and things. Another good template you might want to look at is all these different movements and your key length, key strength lifts. Cool? Supplementary associated, hypertrophy associated, and some more hypertrophy and isolation lifts. That's a great template if you can just put that in your spreadsheet. Okay, and then just with that weekly training options, that gives you some idea of what you. So we talked about these 3 weight groups and how it fits in there in the multiple sessions they had through the day. So planning that training cycle, how many weeks do we have? What stage of the year? Where are the most of these athletes? Are they early, late, stage 4? What are you working with? And try to put that program together. And that's really important for you to think and understand, because you've got to talk to your coach and justify your programs, or justify it to somebody else if you want to do that way. Send those. And here's an example of general preparation period. But again, just some thoughts and ideas that you come up with your own. Questions? Thoughts? Pretty tough? Feedback. What are you thinking? Because chances are, what are you thinking, everybody else in the class is thinking.
I just thought it's good. It clarifies a lot of the questions I had about like programming and periodisation and sets and reps and stuff. So it's good. Makes sense.
Okay, Tommy, you're asking questions. How did that answer any of your questions?
Yeah, I did. Also, had some of the questions I got answered through my placement as well.
Okay.
So
where are you at?
Parramatta.
Okay, with
Brandon.
BA?
Yeah.
BJ? Good.
Yeah.
He's good?
Yeah. So some of the questions I got clarified through just watching, because I'm just watching the sessions at the moment. But
Okay,
just
good.
watching them and talking to the S&C coaches there.
While we're on there, how did Josh spoke about his yesterday? He was with us. Who else has had their place? You're going well with H?
Yeah.
Harry Harris?
Yeah.
Don't get out wild with him. He's got
No,
a
I'm
good
involved
coach.
ahead.
Yeah. How's anybody else want to share some with your placements? Who hasn't started their work placement? When do you guys start?
We haven't heard anything. We needed to send photos of our driver's license and everyone had to do it, and that was probably a week ago. Haven't done anything since.
Okay, where are you supposed to be at?
Football New South Wales.
Yeah, it's the same.
Ben's done a few hours with the school.
Okay. Wow.
Questions about the assignment? Is that what you were going to give my chance?
And the next one is the question about the assignment, yeah. I can send you another one. I did send it, our periodisation program with the referees. Do you want me to send it out to you all again?
Yeah.
Okay. You just don't copy it, but use it as a model and work on it. And it is a working document. What you do this year, you just update next year. And it just keeps going.
So depending on the sport athlete they choose, I think I wrote a question, could they change some of the categories around a little bit?
Yeah. On that template, you put what you like in there. But what we do need is, what type of strength you're doing for your athlete, if it's an individual athlete. And then you need to have all your training variables in there. Like with your aerobic. You might start off with a 1.2k time trial, remember? And then you might start off concentric boxes for your MAS running. And then you progress for that over week 1, week 2, week 3. And you can go from 100% to 110%, 115, 120 maybe. And just all those progressions where you expect to go to.
There's all those abbreviations. Some of it we did last year in S&C, AC, ANs, but you can abbreviate. So you don't have all these words in your big template. Just put a key down the bottom or something like that.
Exactly. Just put down the key for abbreviations.
So RT, hypertrophy, maybe HYP or HY. Well, it doesn't really matter as long as it's clear to us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
400 words is the limit for those.
Yeah, preferably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what the level 2 guys have to explain. They actually explain less.
Yeah, a lot more clarity and conciseness.
Yeah.
Do you use editor on your or
So
Grammarly?
You
Anyone
can write
got-
in Word
Yeah,
and then
so-
copy. If,
Yeah.
if
Yeah, that's
your
right.
spelling and grammar's not good, write it in Word, do a spell check, and then copy your written
Yeah.
response across to Excel into
Yeah,
that box.
The other thing is, there's nothing wrong with using AI either. If it's your writing, then you just want to write it formally, and then you've got to be careful with your references, that you reference. It's your stuff. All you're doing is, it's like an up-to-date, and most of the software now is AI, but you've got to get the references
But AI
right.
doesn't know referencing. It
Yeah.
gives fake references. We had this problem last year with someone.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Write your article with your references for everything, and then just run it through AI, and then put your reference at the finish of it.
Or use Grammarly if you've got bad grammar. Like, I'm pretty sure there's a free version of it.
I still use it. Every email. I need it. So, yeah. And it's not going to go away AI. So, yeah. Any more questions or? Question, next week's lecture is strength and hypertrophy. There's different types of hypertrophy. So I don't know whether you want to forgo next week's lecture and we can cover it now, or do you want to, and because we're going up to Centre of Excellence.
I haven't posted it, but you've got it down.
Yeah, I've got it on the
I can
computer,
quickly post it
if you
now.
want to go through it quickly. And it's up to you, I don't want to force anything on this, but it just...
Do you guys want a quick break and then come back for another lecture, and then next week we just do outside stuff? That was what we were thinking.
Yeah.
That's our thought. And it's not much different here, but there's two ways to do hypertrophy. What are they? Go and have a think about it and come back.
Frequency, volume, like just those different variables.
Well,
Intensity,
the variables, yeah, you can do high reps,
high reps, yeah.
or you can do high intensity and lower reps and time under tension. But they react differently. So stay tuned for the next lecture. Okay, we'll have a break and I don't know if we've got this room.
What's that?
Can we have
I
this room?
think so. I guess if someone comes, then we just have to change the
I
plan.
think last week